And once again, Sony has managed to technologically set the camera world on freaking fire. And they had the gall to cherry pick two of my favorite filmmakers on YouTube and have them do launch films. And then they even had the nerve to put in everything I was asking for in future models of FX3 style bodies. I was happy. I was content with my little FX3 life, and they went and did this with the FX5. And even amidst all the hype that I am 100% falling for, I am still going to use this video to talk to you about why the FX3, in a world where the FX5 is about to dominate, is still an amazing, if not sometimes better purchase in the year 2026 and going into 2027. If you are new to this channel, hello, my name is Davis Rohr. I'm a filmmaker here in the city of Pittsburgh, working all around the world to make documentaries, short films, branded content, and just whatever I'm feeling. And on this channel, I use that experience from my set life and other productions to bring to you the knowledge needed to take your filmmaking game to the next level, whether you are just now picking up a camera or you're that intermediate trying to make it across that threshold into a new world of professional filmmaking. And yes, I'm wearing a hat inside because it's been a minute. Literally haven't cut my hair since the last time I posted a YouTube video, so voila. I'll be the first to admit, when they dropped the fact that the FX5 was going to have the camera original negative LT codec in that bad boy, I was like, wow, that is perfect. Head over heels. I am 100% falling for all of the camera brouhaha, like many people do. And they even just overall improved the sensor and just added such quality of life things that make it a truly new version of the FX3. And let's be honest, it's the FX3 Mark II, but maybe it does push the limits enough to be considered a new Sony FX line. But it brings up a few things that a lot of people need to realize before they start running to the friggin' races to B&H. And it ultimately begs the question, why do we buy cameras? Okay, obviously to shoot videos and films. But really, why do we buy specific camera rigs? Why are there a million different models of small cinema rigs, mirrorless cameras, and other used equipment out there in the world that is just at our disposal? There's only one real objective answer, and that is functionality. And functionality is just simply, is the features of this camera that you're about to buy actually fit the needs for you as a specific filmmaker? Because here's the God's honest truth when it comes to cameras producing you an image that is professional or cinematic. You could literally make a giant dartboard of most of the cameras that are being sold online right now, throw them randomly on your wall, make it the biggest dartboard possible, throw it in whatever camera that dart hits. I guarantee you is going to give you a professional image, something that has a passable amount of dynamic range and something that offers you enough retention of detail, resolution, sharpness, and character from the sensor that's going to give you something that feels good. But what it really barrels down to is that camera system actually helping you be the filmmaker you want to be? I am a run and gun documentary and narrative filmmaker who doesn't often play on big sets. Sometimes I do, but normally I'm thriving in smaller, more chaotic environments. Now, I could sit here and be like, well, an ARRI camera would obviously be the best camera for me. Maybe a red to get that extra longevity in the red raw. I also use a Venice all the time, but at the end of the day, for what I'm doing, functionality is what I really need to elevate myself as a storyteller and also as a businessman. That is why the camera I'm filming myself with right now has been my go-to camera for the last 2 years. The Sony FX3 is truly the best companion for everything I just mentioned. And this is coming from a guy who will tell you right off the bat, I have always had a nonsense opinion about the Sony image and what came out of the sensors, because Back in my early days of filmmaking when I was still learning, there was something about the A7S II and the FX5 and cameras like that where I was like, oh, it's not as good as Canon type cameras or whatever. I didn't know anything back then. But once I started to understand cinematography and filmmaking, I started to understand what these Sony cameras can offer me from that functionality standpoint. And as I've said on this channel a million times, it's leveraging my capabilities as a filmmaker. Because as much as I can objectively say that something like the Nikon ZR or a Red Komodo is a better image, it's not a better camera for my workflow and what I'm doing. As a solo style documentary running gun guerrilla type filmmaker, now of course when it's time for narrative work, I usually whip out different cameras like the Venice or Alexas and stuff like that, but I'm even still using the FX3 on narrative projects. I'm shooting a film out in Milwaukee in a couple weeks, and the FX3 is going to be the A-cam. And that's simply because, like I said before, all cameras are relatively good. Gerald Undone's comment of the camera problem being solved is so freaking true. This is a camera that gives me 13 stops of dynamic range roughly, which was like when I was shooting on the Blackmagic cameras like the Pocket cameras and the Pocket Pro. But what you gotta really talk about with the FX3 is the other stuff it offers outside of dynamic range and things like that, because it is relatively good. But there are things about the FX3 and in turn the FX6 and of course the FX5 that just have an advantage over most cameras. For starters, I gotta talk about the high base ISO. This thing has spoiled me. Sometimes I've been shooting a lot of my documentary stuff set at the 12,800 ISO and just ending where near B. I like the detail it brings into the shadow level overall, and it just makes life easy. You know how nice it is to shoot really dark stuff at night with nothing but ambient street lights and have no worries whatsoever about exposure? That's sick. It is a function that I have relied on almost too much. Then you consider autofocus, not half bad. You consider the audio top handle, which a lot of people complain about because of the construction of it, and I get it. It's not that robust, but you know what? I'm fine with it. I've shot with it for 3 years. I've taken it on helicopters, trucks, mountains, freezing rain, hot ass places. And you know what? And never once had I thought, wow, I think the top handle's about to break. I don't know, to each their own. And I'll be real with you guys, I'm not a spec channel. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you about every single last feature about this camera that makes it is what it is, but allow me to tell you what it really does. Because again, you are talking to somebody who, if you were to ask them, what is the best camera for them? It's an Arri Mira. That's a fact. What is objectively the best camera ever? Well, have you seen the Alexa 35? Have you seen the 265? Have you seen an IMAX camera? See what I'm getting at here? Obviously, visually, there are better cameras than this. If I really wanted to shell out the money for a used Mira or an FX9 or something like that, yeah, I could, and sometimes I should. But then I think back to my Iceland film. One of the best moments of my life that I got to capture for 10 days in depth and make a 45-minute some travel documentary. That does not happen without the FX3. I think about my biggest retainer client right now, Demco Knives, and I think about the mobility I have with them, the travel I do, the in and out of their workshop to outdoors, and also having a small body to work within a pretty volatile environment sometimes, it being a metal workshop for knives. And I think, wow, I cannot imagine doing this with other cameras. The FX6 I get by with it, true, but the ability to just pick up and go and cover all this stuff in the workshop, I can't imagine that without the FX3. Even stuff I've done with my military work, the FX3 has just proved itself that perfect little workhorse. It has all the power and the size and form factor needed to be a companion, and not a nuisance, just for the sake of getting a better image. Now, shall I return back to the point of this video? Because I believe I started this off with trying to convince you that buying an FX3 at this time is actually a better idea than buying an FX5. Allow me to explain. Utilizing pretty much everything I just said. I can't say the functionality thing enough. I cannot say the leveraging your capabilities thing enough. You can almost make a drinking game on this channel for how many times I've said both those things. And it's so true. And I will speak from my perspective right now. If I was thinking that selling my FX3 and buying an FX5 was going to make me a better filmmaker because of the codec and the sensor improvements, I am simply not ready then. I am not a good enough filmmaker. You shouldn't have to buy new fancy stuff that is top of the line and state of the art to solidify yourself as who you are as a filmmaker. Because at this point in time in my career, if I can't take a busted C100 or an old Canon 5D or a freaking cell phone and can't make a good video or film or whatever out of it, then I have no business convincing myself that I should be buying an FX5. And you shouldn't be either. The camera will never make the filmmaker. And I am somebody on this channel who talks a lot about how gear does matter, how it actually can improve your life, but it doesn't craft the artist. Craft is craft, no matter what the camera is. I've seen plenty of people with fancy red rigs, RE rigs, and the craziest things, and they just make crap. And I've seen plenty of people take something like this FX3 or even ancient FS5s and 7s or even more ancient Canon 7Ds and make quality professional stuff. That's because they took the time to understand lighting, how to work with low dynamic ranges on older cameras, the importance of lensing, the importance of composition, and the importance of how to actually flow with a camera, handheld, tripod, whatever. And there's so many other things that are going to make your video better, like your sound design, your color grade, your editing, your pacing, all that jazz. It sure as ain't going to be because, ooh, you bought an FX5. Wow. And again, I'll be the first to admit that I immediately thought about getting the FX5 when it got announced. It's a very exciting camera. I love working with that original camera negative codec that's in the Venice. Love it. But everything I just said before is the reason why I'm not rushing out the door to get this camera. It is a marginal improvement to the FX3. It's not, and I might be crazy for saying this, it's not as big as a game changer as most people think it will be. I think it's a huge game improvement. I think it's exactly the right decision by Sony, and I think it will be their most popular camera in their lineup after a year. I would even say it's an improvement on the FX6 when it comes to visuals, but again, it's functionality that's going to be the reason you buy a camera. And as I said in the beginning, I am happy. I am content. And if one day I got some extra cash from work and I can pick up an FX5 without having to sell my FX3, then I will purchase that camera. More importantly, you, little Mr. or Mrs. audience member, now is the time to turn your attention to the used camera market. Because the second the FX5 got announced, the used film gear Facebook pages and Instagram stories pretty much popped up like wildfires. There has never been a better time to get your hands on the FX3. More importantly, there's never been a better time to get yourself a fully rigged out FX3 used. Because what people were selling the body for is now being sold in kits, sometimes even with lenses. So yes, for just shy of $6,000, you can get your hands on a new FX5, but for more around $3,000, you can get yourself a fully suited and ready to go FX3 with batteries and cages, maybe a lens monitor. And you know what? If you got money and you're just, whatever, who am I to stop you from buying nice things? Because let's be honest, sometimes that's why we buy cool cameras, because we like really nice, expensive things. It is what it is. But if you're somebody who is just getting past that beginner phase of their video filmmaking career, I would strongly suggest that you take advantage of the climate of film right now, that you take advantage of the fact that Sony did put out a new camera and that their older cameras are going to take a hit in price. This is the time where the crows come out to play and start feasting on those tasty little used market crumbs. Because if you right now, as somebody who might start to understand who they are visually, went and picked up an FX3, I promise you, you can make a career with this camera. You can make your passion projects with this camera. You can make your spec work with it, music videos. You can be a true, talented, working professional and grow as an individual with the FX3 in 2026 and moving into 2027. The FX5 will not make your career. It's just more to leverage who you are as a filmmaker, as is any camera ever made. That being said, I totally am going to try to pick one up come December or January, but you know what? If I'm still shooting most of my project with the FX3 come January, I'm not going to be upset. Now, I would like to say thank you guys for your patience because it has been a hot minute since I posted a video, which is a shame because I just crossed the 10,000 subscriber threshold. That is crazy. Never would I thought that even 100 people would go on the internet, listen to me talk, and not only enjoy the things I'm saying, but appreciate them enough to subscribe and hear more and take what I'm saying as almost an authority. That's wild because I'm not an authority on this stuff, but thank you anyway. Now, 10,000 of you? Damn. This is really exciting stuff because everybody who has left a comment, liked the video, and of course everybody who subscribed, you have given me something that I never thought I'd have, and that is, well, a successful YouTube channel, but also a chance to do other things with my career. It's given me the opportunity to just grow and do really, really exciting things on this channel. And I will always owe a debt to every single person who has subscribed to this channel for the rest of my life. And I will continue to make videos that I hope keeps to the bearings of this channel and just keeps doing what we're doing, man. I don't know. I guess I'm getting sappy in my head. Now I have no freaking clue what I'm even saying. Also, since you last saw me, I had a baby. And she is the most perfect thing in the world. So yeah, life's been good. And I have 10,000 of you to thank for that. And to those who aren't subscribed and watching this, consider. But hey, I get it. Watching this means something too, and I thank you for that. And I hope you learned something. More videos are on the way. I promise I'm going to try to get another batch of stuff going here. But for now, thank you so much for everything you've given this channel and to my career. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this lovely little rant about camera tech. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm going to bed. Goodbye. Wait, I didn't do the thing. Goodbye.